Alright, so I'm going to talk on about the Evil Dead Trilogy, which stars Bruce Campbell and directed by Sam Raimi. Quite easily, some of the funniest and scariest movies that you'll ever watch. And it's a pretty basic scenario. Guy goes off in the woods with his friends, accidentally plays a tape recorder because the cabin that they go to belongs to a guy who was researching a demonic text called the Necronomicon. Wakes up an evil in the woods. People gets possessed. He fends them all off. Second movie comes along. Some more people come to the cabin. He fights evil all over again. Has to lose his right hand in the process because it got possessed. Arms up with a chainsaw where his right hand was, and a shotgun fighting evil. Activate a spell to where they're pulled back in time, and he fights a lot of evil deadites in the Middle Ages. That's a pretty simple scenario, and I could leave it right there, but I won't. I got quite a bit to cover on this, so I'm just going to get right down to it. And first off, I'm going to talk about the movie, and then I'm going to get to ranting on the different editions of the Evil Dead. So first off, we have the first movie, of course, which stars Bruce Campbell. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really too familiar with a lot of the other actors in all three of these movies. Bruce Campbell really doesn't start out as the hero in this story. Quite honestly, in fact, it's the other character, Scotty, who steps up to be the hero majority of the time. And he's able to hold his own well until his girlfriend is possessed by the evil that's been haunting the cabin. And there seems to be a certain scenario that where things play out. Now, of course, quite honestly, when Ash's sister, Cheryl, who was along with the group as kind of the fifth wheel, was dragged off into the woods by the trees, and we had the infamous tree raping scene in this movie, which was kind of interesting. But there seemed to be the formula that whoever was assaulted in some way by, whether it be a possessed object or another possessed person, that person themselves will wind up coming possessed. And it just led for an all-out chaos. And it was really Bruce Campbell that was made the star of the movie once all of his friends had been possessed. And the movie kind of ended with the evil hurling back at him. Really, what I can say about this, it's a good movie, and I really recommend that you check it out. There's not really too much, just in fact to say that this is, quite honestly, a straight-up scary movie. It was based off another movie called Within the Woods that they did, but it kind of just stands as its own thing as a horror film. And along comes Evil Dead 2 about 5 years later, which restars Bruce Campbell. Now, there's been a lot of confusion, per se, that is this a sequel or is it a remake? Because just about everything, besides the fact that they do continue the story, it looks like a rehashing of the first one all over again. And to an extent, yes it is. Now, due to legal reasons, they couldn't mention anything about the prior characters from the first film. They could address the events, which is why when you watch the first movie and then you get to the second one and some of the synopsis on the third movie, they never mentioned anybody that was there. Because I know they went with the same company, but I'm not entirely sure of the legal reasons why they couldn't address the characters from the other movies, but this is how it played out. The second movie begins right where the first one left off in a ways, with Ash fighting the evil within him, and also having to work with the newcomers to the cabin who bring more pages of the Necronomicon. And this is really good. There's a lot of hilarious moments in here. I'm pretty much saying what's already been rehabbed, but to explain it to somebody who hasn't seen it before, there are a lot of Three Stooges moments in here, especially when the evil possesses Ash's girlfriend. You have a lot of scenarios like that, or when the evil got into his hand and he's sitting there and he's smashing dishes, which is really fucking funny. This is great stuff. And then you kind of have like the hero moment where he decides to go and arm himself up and fight the old witch from the cellar in order to exorcise the evil from the cabin. And in order to do this, they have to open up a portal in time, and they kind of took a risk with this movie as well, because they went straight. This is actually a formula I've seen where you take a horror movie and turn it into a action movie in the next one. And we do have a little bit of action here, but it doesn't really take off until the third movie, and I really think that this emerged as one of the first movies that successfully did that with this franchise, where they transfer over from a horror to an action movie. Now, in '92, along came Army of Darkness, and you get a little more flashback into Ash's life when he was working at the S-mart and all that. You know, it was a pretty crappy job. He goes to retreat off with his girlfriend, yada yada yada. And after the success of the first two films, when they brought the humor and that in there, and you got to get to know Bruce Campbell a little more as a funny guy, I think Sam Raimi just had the idea. I mean, of course, him and Bruce was friends as kids together, but you know, he just decided, you know, Bruce made Evil Dead 2 just by acting the way he did, and he just decided to step back and let Bruce be himself. I'm kind of actually wondering where Bruce kind of makes up things as he go, and Sam Raimi just went along with it, because the whole thing where he's now, of course, the fight scene down in the pit, and after he gets out and has the whole speech about his boomstick, the shotgun that he had, and really made a lot of one-liners into this movie, and it's just really great. The other thing about this movie is that it makes nods back to like a lot of the old stop-motion action-adventure pictures from like the early 50s and maybe some into the 60s, because like the part where the army of skeletons is coming up to the castle after he retrieves the book in order to find a way to get back home, it reminds me very much of the skeleton movements and all the stuff that they did with Jason and the Argonauts that I used to watch on AMC when I was a kid, and kind of takes it back to some of the old Sinbad movies too. But all three of these movies are really great pieces of film, and if you haven't seen them or haven't seen them in a long time, I really recommend that you go back and check them out, because quite honestly, they're worth it, especially with Army of Darkness being a good trilogy.